So Nicholas Bornolis of Capital Link again, and I am delighted to welcome you to the last, but definitely not the least of the panels of the first day of our Norway Forum. We started the morning with a presentation by Hege Tofte of the Norwegian Shipowners Association. And Hege described to us the vibrancy of the Norwegian Maritime cluster. And a very big part of that has been technology, the maritime clusters. So now we have a panel that is going to focus exactly on innovation and technology, developing cutting-edge solutions for global shipping. And we are going to have the opportunity to have with us the heads of maritime clusters, leading technology companies. And I would like to thank Morten Lerø from DNV, our partners in this conference, for helping to put this panel together and moderating it. And of course, I am gratified to have such a high level participation from our panelists. So thank you to all for joining us. And I look forward to the panel discussion. Thank you very, very much. Morten, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you for that kind introduction. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this session on technology and innovation. So I'm Morten Lerø, and I'm heading Maritime Advisory in DNV. And I'm happy to host this panel, where I, together with the panelists, will explore the topic Norway, Innovation and Technology, developing cutting-edge solutions for global shipping. Before we dive into this very timely and interesting topic, let me first give you a quick introduction to our panelists being with me here today. So in our panel, we have representatives from leading technology providers from the maritime industry, and we also have executives from 2 Norwegian clusters that propel and facilitate for change and innovation. So let me first introduce Hege Okland, CEO of Maritime Cleantech. Good afternoon to you, Hege.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here.
Then we have Erik Dalen, CEO of AQP and Blue Maritime Cluster.
Good afternoon.
Then I turn to you, Jorulf Nergard, Vice President of Market Development Marine ABB. Hello to you.
Hello, thank you. Nice to be here.
And then we have Lars Endre Gimmestad, Deputy CEO of Brødrene.
Good afternoon. An honor to be here.
And last but not least, we have Eystein Leren, Director for Industry and Market Leads of Yara Clean Ammonia.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Morten, for the opportunity to participate on this panel.
So as you see, we have a very interesting group of people in our panel here to discuss and share their views on the topic of technology and innovation. So they are representing different parts of the maritime industry, including a system provider, a builder, and a provider of alternative green fuels, as well as representatives heading maritime clusters with an ambition to facilitate for innovation and development by bringing companies together across the industry. So let me first set the scene for our discussion in this session. We are currently in a time of transformation due to developments in technology and the ambitions to set to reduce emissions and eventually to move towards a carbon neutral state. And these changes will require significant investments in development activity towards new solutions. Innovation and technology with an export orientation towards the global maritime industry are among the leading competitive advantages of the Norwegian Maritime Cluster. And the country hosts technology providers that supply the shipping industry with cutting-edge solutions. New thinking, innovation, and engaging broadly across stakeholders and industry players may be needed to tackle the challenges ahead of us. How are companies working to embark on this journey? What strategies do they develop, and how are they working with other companies to position themselves for the future? How are Norwegian maritime clusters propelling change and innovation through their contribution to Norwegian value creation? These are some of the questions we will try to address in this session. So I will now turn to our panelists to hear from each of them on their perspectives of innovation in an area of transformation towards zero emissions. First, I would like to hear from our two clusters represented here in the panel. So please share with us the concept of the technology clusters. How do you see your role for fostering technological development and innovation? First, I give the word to you, Hege, CEO of Maritime Cleantech, a cluster based on the west coast of Norway, with cluster partners from all over Norway.
Thank you for your kind introduction, Morten. I would like to share a presentation with you. Thank you. You can take the first slide, please. Yes, as you said in your introduction, Morten, the industry is in a huge transformation. And the shipping industry has an important job ahead of us to meet IMO's greenhouse gas strategy, but also regional and local regulations. Still, when developing and launching new green solutions that reduces emissions from shipping, you meet many challenges and barriers. Fossil fuels are still cheaper than renewable energy, and the future fuel for shipping is not yet a clear solution. New technology and new energy systems needs to be developed and validated and demonstrated full scale. We also need to develop new infrastructure and new supply chains for new fuels. This job is huge, and it is impossible for a single company to drive this development alone. You need to collaborate. The cluster partnership in Maritime Cleantech consists of 140 partners from the entire maritime value chain. And I like to add the new maritime value chain, because we need to include new players in this value chain. We need to include suppliers of renewable energy from the energy sector. We need to include suppliers of fuel cells and battery, for instance. And we also need to collaborate with other sectors and the public sector and also finance sector. In addition to this, we are, as a cluster, having a close dialogue with different public bodies, both because the public bodies represent regulators, but also customers in many ways. They are, for instance, the partner when setting out public contracts for new ferries. So as a cluster, we are focusing on developing a complete ecosystem for innovation. And the most important partners are represented here in this slide. We need to have access to test infrastructure and capital, and we need to involve end users from ship owners and cargo owners. And we set up different projects involving different consortium of partners developing and launching new technology. So if you can take the next slide, please. Here you can see some examples of innovation projects coming out from this cluster. We now have 4 ongoing innovation projects with EU funding, where we are developing new energy systems and demonstrating them full scale on operating vessels. But the electrical revolution in Norway started with the passenger ferries. I guess you have heard about Ampere, which was the very first electrical ferry in Norway. And the next step now is a ferry with running on liquid hydrogen. And we bring this experience from the ferries over to other vessel segments, like for instance the offshore vessels. In the Ship FC project, we are demonstrating an energy system with fuel cells running on green ammonia on board Eidesvik vessel, which is an offshore supply vessel. And this vessel will run a demonstration project for 4 years, and it will start in 2023. We also have other vessels like the High Ship project, where we are demonstrating an energy system with liquid hydrogen. And the coordinator for this project is the ship owner Wilhelmsen. And Wilhelmsen will use these vessels to also distribute cargo along the ports or offshore bases along the Norwegian coast, in addition to hydrogen on board containers. So this vessel will in fact be a distribution channel for green liquid hydrogen. In the flagship project, which is also an EU project, we are demonstrating compressed hydrogen on board 2 pilot projects. And one of the pilots is a cargo vessel running on the Seine River in Paris. So we have great use and success of collaborating with European partners in these EU projects. But some of the projects are also with only partners from the cluster. For instance, we have a cargo shipping project, and we also have a green cruise concept, which has been developed in the cluster. So these are just some examples of how we work as a cluster, setting up a consortium of partners represented by the different technology providers, the end user, and also public partners. So this is just a small presentation for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hege, for sharing and for giving us some insight in the ecosystem of innovation, and also for sharing some of the projects that you and your members are part of. So I was wondering, again, the cluster recently celebrated its 10-year anniversary. Have you seen any changes in the focus areas or in the focus of the cluster during these years?
Yes, it has been a very interesting journey to be part of this cluster for these 10 years. In the beginning, no one talked about the green shift or the transition from fossil fuels. So when we had some innovative partners in the cluster launching the concept of a fully battery electric ferry, that was, someone shook their head and said, those people, they don't know how this will work. But now we think that all companies have some kind of strategy for sustainable operations. And we have seen a very growing interest in becoming a part of this cluster partnership because people or the companies recognize that we cannot do this job on our own.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Hege. I think then we will move a little bit further north on the west coast of Norway to Ålesund, where we have you, Erik. What perspectives would you like to share from your point of view, and how do you see the role of the cluster in your region?
The GC Blue Maritime Cluster, you should be aware of, this is a very old cluster, and actually we got the national status back in 2004 as a Norwegian Center of Expertise. But the cluster story is much older, and it started building fishing vessels. And when North Sea opened, we brought in the new and modern oil vessels in that region, and actually it became a global leading position on the big advanced offshore vessel, using all type of technologies to bring it forward. We are lucky because we are a cluster with a complete value chain, and in every segment we have many actors. 16 design companies. We have several yards. We have equipment manufacturers, ship owners. And an important part when we started up as a formal cluster was to build up an innovation ecosystem. And these days, Campus Ålesund, with all these partners, we really have a nice system, which is looking for global partners to bring in new technology and cooperate to find the solution. This cluster is known for its innovation speed and also the capability to switch to new segments. This is a culture thing. We are very informal, flat organizations, and of course we have this saying, we cooperate when we can and compete when we must. Though you should be aware of that we are located with a core in Lerø. The value chain is Norwegian and global. So this is really a global cluster. Over the years, the cluster have competed with new innovations on new vessels. And an important part of that has all the time been to see how could we come up with new and greener solutions. Long before people started talking about the green thing, it was fuel saving and things like that. So the design of hulls, propulsion, engines, and also, of course, how to operate the vessels in the best way. And of course, to do this, we were cooperating globally and try to find new ways of doing things and try out new technologies. But in this fast changing world, and it's probably always been changing and fast, but probably faster than ever, I think the whole maritime business must cooperate to come up with new technologies, to try to scale it as fast as possible due to the political ambitions and the speed of that. These ambitions really will give enormous costs in the speed this is meant to be. And we are looking at how to scale it, because to get down the price and the cost of operation, we must scale the solutions. It's nice to have one prototype, but the industry needs scaling to really build the future. So we are looking for partners all over the world, which is interesting to start using this new technology, taking a part of the bill, of course, with a big part of governmental finance to get them up and running, so we can have experience enough to scale the solutions. We also have the view that there are not only one energy solution. There are going to be several, and we like to test out all of them and see for which segment is the best. And therefore, again, we have to go global to find partners out there to do it, to meet this challenge. So we will in the future, and I think this is a global conference, we are looking for partners out there to cooperate to bring the maritime industry forward. And that includes, of course, R&D, which is a big part of this. And this is also how our new strategy is based, to do it in this way. We think that it will be new building, but we will also have retrofit of older vessels with new green technology. So that is our strategy, and hope to hear from some of you participants today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Erik, for sharing insights of your Blue Maritime cluster. You mentioned that the cluster is being seen as innovative and quick to respond to market change. Could you say anything or a little bit more about the background for that and why you think that is so?
I think first of all, it's the culture. It's the core is a small region, and we have a informal behavior, and I think we also have a combination of very good market view. So we are doing this project together with customers, and of course, have you found a customer, you have to deliver and deliver fast. And therefore, I say we of course we are involved in a lot of project and research project, but we also are using results as soon as we see them to convert it into a product that's possible to sell.
Very good. Thank you very much, Erik, for that further insight. Then I will turn to you, Jorulf, representing a company with a significant portfolio of technology and solutions towards the maritime industry. You're actively engaging in projects and pilots for green shipping. Please share with us how you see the road ahead in terms of the need for innovation and development, and how you in ABB go about these aspects.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll try to give a brief introduction of what we are and what we're doing and how we are seeing how to develop it further. ABB is a global company working globally, but established in Norway, and a lot of the development have been done from Norway earlier years, and also still doing this. And our purpose is to transfer the industry by the power of technology to do more smarter and more sustainable solutions. We are a pioneer also in electric transportation, having provided electrical systems the last 100 years for the vessels. And also today we have about 1,700 vessels which is equipped with our large, let's say, electric technologies. And we believe that the future will be in shipping will be with electrical and digital connected solutions, even more than we have seen earlier. And the reason is when we are now seeing the discussions generated by also IMO, or with a strong message to reduce the emissions in 2030, 2050, result of European Union's message to be zero emission in quite close future. Then we need to move from the fossil fuels over to these zero emission fuels as hydrogen and ammonia, electricity from the grid, and that it can be used for fuel cells and batteries in order to power the propulsion of the vessels, depending on the operation pattern, or do powering of some other systems on board as a combination of other means for the propulsion. Examples can be said, the zero emission ferries from South Korea Busan Port Authority that recently received, and the 10 vessels from Portugal Lisbon Tagus River. Quite interesting with the fast speed ferries. And another type of vessel, Podmant exploration cruise vessel, with a large battery pack on board used for zero emission quiet operation in sensitive Arctic areas. I can also mention a little bit flagged also earlier now today, this European Innovation Flagship project, which is quite interesting with the inland river waterways in Europe. We'll see a large development there for the CFD and hydrogen fuel cells operated cargo vessel. We can also mention it's a lot of discussion for other projects ongoing, which we cannot name by name, but we can maybe said a little bit on the VARD engineering lead consortium for the zero coastal vessel, which you are part of. It's quite interesting to see a flexible solution there that will be launched or have been also introduced. For many ship owner, new technologies present some challenges in the fuel logistics. Increased investment cost, which is a challenge, and changes in daily operation of the vessel. Challenges are not insurmountable, but should be considered during the planning of the projects. Some points there. It's a fuel. If the fuel is available for my vessel where I operate at a palatable price, which fuel will be mandatory when I need to renew my fleets? Which energy converter should be selected, considering weight, volume, available space on board? Should the vessel be flexible built to allow changes of energy carrier later on, if necessary? That they could be possible. Legislation in the area operation, which requirement will come into play when? As an example, zero emission sailing in port stay in Norway fjords by 2026 or 2030. It's have been a discussion. As the solution require infrastructure, fuel availability, and more. Collaboration is a key to move forward. And I think here, as we heard also earlier, the maritime cluster, such as Maritime Cleantech here, Blue Maritime Cluster, and the Green Shipping Program have been an important role in this, enabling pilot projects to test, demonstrate, and further develop the zero emission technology for the commercial use. Another important collaboration and contributor is national, regional government bodies such as Innovation Norway and NOx Fund, and these EU's Horizon 2020, who all do funding and to contribute to reduce the price gap between the new and the traditional technologies. For energy storage, the fuel cells allow the low zero emission solutions to become cheaper. A large volume is the key in order to achieve these. The public, I think the public purchasing is helping to maybe introduce the technology in the local areas. And they have done so in a certain degree. But to really crank up the volume, nations can still do more to push low and zero emission. For instance, setting demand on the zero emission for local transportation. The impression is that the cargo owners, which is the final owners of the chain, would like to transport the goods with the zero emission, if it's economically viable. However, from the industry side, we have not yet agreed on which fuels should be the dominant ones in order to have a certain volume. So even though we as a system integrator, we are ready to install the systems, owners to some extent has to equip the vessels, and the fuel suppliers are waiting to see which fuel supply logistic to roll out. All the players need to pull together to make zero emission shipping as a new normal. So I think a collaboration is the key word here.
Very good, thank you very much. Very interesting to hear your reflections on the need and the need to work with these various stakeholders to make the innovation and the new technology come to market. Thank you for sharing that. I was also wondering, just a quick comment from you, Jorulf, on the reason you think the Portuguese and these Korean customers are selecting a Norwegian system supplier, as you showed on your slide.
Yeah, we're seeing it. They have done this, and I think we can compete in the global environment as well. And I think on top of that, we are developing systems and being quite far by doing this from Norway. So ABB is a global company, yes, but this is controlled by the Norwegian office, actually, and development have been done here in the environment of Norway. So I think that's the key, that we are a little bit ahead some others.
Okay, very good, thank you. Lars, Endre, you are heading a company and a yard well known for bringing new and innovative solutions to the market. Can you please share with us your company philosophy to innovation and development, and also some of your reflections on the way forward and the changes needed towards zero emissions?
Yes, thank you, Morten, and thank you, DNV and Capital Link, for having me on this panel. It's a big question, so how to approach it and in a few minutes. But just let me spend a minute or so just to introduce Brødrene. For the audience, there might be someone that are not familiar with our company. We are basically a small shipyard. We are located on the west coast of Norway in a small place called Hege, and that's also a way of understanding sort of inspiration for innovation in our company. We are in a small community, and our CEO, he usually says that in order to be here, we need to be in the forefront. We need to be best. We need to be on the top. Otherwise, we won't have a shipyard in a place like this. And that's what sort of drives innovation in the company, I would say. The company was founded around 75 years ago by two brothers. Brødrene means brothers in Norwegian. And we are a complete shipyard. We are designing and constructing and producing mostly high-speed vessels. And it has been a company pioneering different solutions ever since its founding. In the 70s, the company adopted fiberglass sandwich, GRP sandwich construction as the building material. And in the 80s, surface effect chips was introduced. But sort of the biggest change for Brødrene was the introduction of carbon fiber as the building material in 2002, about soon 20 years ago. And this was initially driven by the goal of making vessels that were lightweighted, that could make the operational costs go down in terms of lower fuel consumption. But with the emerging of the climate focus and the quest for carbon neutrality, the positive effects of lighter vessels have sort of been reinforced by the focus on environment. So we have built close to 70 vessels now in carbon fiber, and we are experiencing high demand for our products. And we are one of the few shipyards using that building material. And we have expanded with additional yard in Norway, and now also with a yard in Guangzhou in China. In terms of the zero emission, the quest for low and zero emission, we have started the introduction of such solutions. The first one was the Vision of the Fjords, which you can see on the picture, which was a sightseeing vessel operating at slow speed. And the reason being that high-speed vessels are very energy-consuming vehicles, so they need a lot of energy. And so we have started with this more of the low-speed segments with the Vision of the Fjords, and there are also been two sister vessels built in the same design. And the last contribution to the zero-emission fleet was the Hege Electra, which is the top right one, and she had a respectable 23 knot in testing. So we are seeing that we are moving into higher speeds as technology is developing. Moving to your question about innovation, like Erik said, there needs to be a culture for innovation in the company. In order to be innovative, you have to have an attitude of continuous improvement. That's sort of the foundation to come up with the innovative solutions. And you have to be innovative on many levels. You need to be innovative in management to have efficient running of the company, and you have to be also innovative when it comes to your processes internally. We are a shipbuilder. We are an industrial player, and we need to make sure that the hours that we put into the products are as few as possible. So we need to work efficiently, and that's also part of innovation. And not to forget to be innovative in our products. And one aspect of innovation is that you have to be willing to take risk on new technology and jump into projects that you don't know for sure that you will come out at the other end with a solution that the market will ask for, but at least you need to be willing to take that risk. But at the same time, you need to mitigate that risk, to find ways to make that risk as low as possible. And I think that one of the ways that we approach that is by having a quite open innovation model, where we where we turn to other players in order to come up with new solutions together with partners. And the most important partner for us is the customer, because the customer comes to the table with specific needs, specific requirements, some kind of market demand that they want to meet. And we have very positive experience working closely with our customers in order to develop new solutions. Like the seaside concept is a very good example, which was developed in a close collaboration with our customers. And then we turn around and see who else do we need to cooperate? Well, we need to cooperate with our suppliers. We are dependent on available technology because we are not the battery developer. We are not making fuel cells, hydrogen fuel cells. We need to rely on our suppliers. And we have also a close collaboration with them, like ABB, for instance, that we have exciting projects on the table together with them. And thirdly, I would emphasize institutions like clusters. These networks, they also play an important role in connecting us with interesting partners. Because at the end of the day, we are a system integrator like ABB. We are producing vessel, yes, but it's a sum of various components and efforts from other partners coming together in our product. So we need to be a good system integrator in order to bring a good product to the market. Well, looking ahead, I think the changes forward, certainly the chase or the quest for carbon neutrality is propelling change. It's propelling technological development, and you see it through the whole value chain. And it challenges us in two ways. We need to be innovative in two ways. We need to be innovative in the way we produce our products. That's like I said in the beginning, because it comes down to the resources that we put into our product. We need efficient production processes, and the way we use resources need to be efficient. And we need to also pay attention to the growing concern of circularity, that we design our products with a circularity in mind, that components, material, everything has also an end of life. That it will be a very important part of our innovation going forward. And I think the rules and requirements from the public, from the market, from governments, that will increase that demand to meet that expectation. And the other area where innovation will take place and is taking place is within the energy field, coming down to energy efficiency, meaning that we need to produce energy efficient vessels. They have to be lighter. We have to improve our use of carbon fiber to make lighter vessels. We need lighter components. We need hull concepts, hull designs, foils, solutions that can sort of take down the need for energy. And the other part of energy is the storage part and transportation part. We still need to go away when it comes to battery development to improve the weight energy ratio. Hydrogen solutions, for instance, we need to come into play, and so forth. And the energy issue needs to be met with infrastructure on land in terms of distribution of these sources of energy. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Eystein. I think that gives us a good transition over to our next panelist, actually. Speaking of energy storage and energy sources. So, Eystein, I would now like to turn to you. You are from a fairly new entity within Yara, Clean Ammonia. What can you tell us about the background for establishing this entity, and how are your ambitions towards the maritime industry?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for being here. I'm coming from a totally different industry than the rest of the panel here. Yara has a long history as a fertilizer company, more than 120 years. And we're one of the largest fertilizer companies in the world. Our only connection to maritime environment is that we are shipping a few million tons of dry bulk globally every year, a few million tons of ammonia, coming back to that. And we have a little finger in the maritime industry as well, in a 100% owned daughter company, Yara Marine Technology, which is supplying sulfur removal scrubbers to the shipping industry. This story, however, is starting back in 2016 when we started implementing what was a radically new strategy in our company to look at how we could decarbonize our 8.5 million tons of ammonia production from using a hydrogen feed from gas conversion to hydrogen produced by water electrolysis and renewable energy. So totally without CO2 emissions. Looking into how we could do that, we soon started looking into market segments that potentially could employ zero carbon nitrogen products as a dedicated product, or was looking for that in particular. And energy came very soon up as one such segment, which was brand new to us. Ammonia is not sold to energy today of various and very natural reasons, but it's a high energy density material. And we started looking into ammonia as shipping fuel as one of the opportunities. There were a few research and development groups around that was looking at it. But the real change came in 2018 with the IMO resolution and ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions significantly in the shipping industry. And that came about at the same time as several studies, and amongst them from the International Energy Agency, predicting a future of fuels in the maritime industry, where ammonia was highlighted as one of the most suitable zero emission fuels of the future. A few of these reports also highlighted ammonia as the most suitable future zero carbon fuel. And of course, then the activity level increased significantly. At this point in time, we believe that the decarbonization of the nitrogen industry and the ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in shipping is going well and hand in hand. However, if you look at the future, it's quite clear that the volumes that we are talking about in fuel is requiring a significant capacity increase and a significant capacity ramp up in all parts of the supply chain or value chain here, from production all the way through to the various elements of the supply chain. And we believe that in order to achieve the required ramp up here, both increased collaboration, innovation, and alignment, not at least between the various players in the value chain, will be required. In February this year, Yara established Yara Clean Ammonia to bring this process forward on our behalf, as Morten was saying. And what you see on the slide here is our starting point, which is our existing ammonia trade and shipping activity. We're present as a global player and as the major shipper of ammonia bulk today, and we're operating globally with a number of plants and own production capacity. We're also trading and dealing with third-party product, and we're operating a fleet of ammonia gas carriers to take the ammonia from one location to the next, And finally, we have a network of terminals close to shore, and several of them and several of the plants that we operate are close to important bunkering hubs as Rotterdam, Singapore, etc. So that we believe that we have a good starting point here to bring this forward, and we're really looking forward to exciting times going forward to see how this can be developed.
Thank you. Very interesting, Eystein. What do you see in Yara as the most critical factors in introducing and potential scale-up then of ammonia as a fuel?
Well, the two questions that is coming back is, as you're indicating, it's the capacity in the system today and safety. We believe that we can deal with both. The ammonia is handled safely today in the supply chain. There is about 20 million tons being shipped around today annually, and there are very, very few accidents. So we believe that with the right training, with the right equipment in place, that that ammonia can be handled safely as a fuel as well, and we will make everything we can to contribute to that. Systems are put in place to deal with the safety issue. When it comes to capacity, I think the alignment of between the players in the value chain will be the important part. It's quite clear that there are some free capacity today. So if you convert existing capacity to green and blue, for that matter, which is then a carbon-free ammonia, both of them, there is a system capacity today to supply the first few hundred vessels, but clearly to make this huge and make this big, and we're looking at large volumes, maybe a doubling or tripling of existing production capacity, and it's quite clear that significant investments are required. And in order to trigger those investments, we also need to understand what is happening amongst the end users. So the ship owners needs to make their choices, and that will of course also determine to a large degree how the scale up and development of the supply chain will look like.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that insight this time. One thing that basically all of you panelists have been touching upon has been collaboration. Obviously from the cluster side, but also the rest of you have talked about collaboration in one way or the other as an important factor for innovation and for development. So a question to all of you, basically, how do you balance the collaborative spirit, both in the clusters, but also in other collaboration initiatives towards new solutions, when with the fact that the members and the participants may also be competitors? Challenge you on that one first, Per-Erik.
I think this is the complicated thing about the cluster, because we have so many yards, so many manufacturers and design company. But I think we cooperate on knowledge and generic knowledge, and then the projects. Either you have a project with an end user on, and they go further alone together with a few in the cluster, or we as a cluster organization, we take it there. From there, it's up to the companies to find the solution together with the customer. But basically, we connect people, we bring in new knowledge, and we always are looking or not saying the wrong things, because there are information that we shouldn't share with Brødrene or whoever. They have to find it out for themselves. But I think when you have the culture for this, it's not so difficult as you should think. it's possible for the yards to bring up new competence or using new networks together. And then when you start talking to the custom like Yara and others, then you leave the big company and go back to yourself. So I think that's the way we are doing it.
Thank you, Erik. Hege, how do you see it from your perspective?
I think we also see some differences between the clusters because the cluster strategy is defined by the industry. They are in charge in the board and setting our strategy. So what's important for the companies, that's how we act as a cluster organization. And for our partners, innovation, demonstration of new technology has been a high priority. And in these projects, we, of course, need to have close focus on IPR and how to handle consortium of partners, especially when it's technology which is quite sensitive regards of competition. But when it's projects which is more at a very early phase, more concept development with an immature market, it's easier to handle several competitors, traditional competitors within the project. So when we started out back in 2013, developing electrical vessel, we had several partners on board, but that would be impossible today when the market is more mature.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that, Hege. Then we are moving towards an end here, but just would like to have a very quick feedback on one of the things that we have touched upon. I mean, Hege addressed earlier on how her strategy changed over the last 10 years in maritime cleantech. To the rest of you, do you see any difference in how to be successful in taking new solutions to the market in the time to come compared to in the past? Jorulf, any reflections on that?
I think the challenge is a little bit, or not a little bit, it's quite much heavier now, since we are changing energy carriers as well, from fossil fuels to green energies, which is a challenge in all, let's say, part of the chain. And for that, we need to collaborate in order to spread these possibilities or the possible technologies into the let's say governments or whoever, the shippings, the logistics systems and everything is all tied together. And without having these spread around and having a volume, it's a dead stuff actually. So all the guys need to have an agreement that what is feasible, what is not. So it's a little bit difficult to answer directly, but it's let's say walk around, and we have a little bit chicken and egg situation, all of us.
Very good. Short comment from you also, Erik, on that question.
I see a big change because, as I said earlier, it's a global market, and Norway is a small nation, and a lot of the new innovations or technologies comes from abroad. So I see that our value chain, it's changing. It becomes more and more global to have partners all over the world to cooperate and find the solutions. And of course, in the earlier stage, as Hege said, it's easy because then nobody knows. But we live off selling vessels. So at one stage, we had to bring it home and start competing. But in building up the competence and testing out new prototypes, I think it's easier in a global value chain. And I think it was also Nergard, he mentioned this thing that should we meet these requirements, we have to scale very fast. We have to find solutions and scale them, or else it's too costly to buy and operate. So therefore, bringing a lot of projects and then see what's best and then try to scale. Thank you.
Very good. I think we'll have that as the final point of our discussion today. So thank you all for sharing and for sharing of your insight and your approach to technology and innovation. So thank you to Hege, to Erik, Jorulf, Lars, Endre, and Eystein, and thank you also to Nicholas and Capital Link for organizing this great event.
Well, thank you from me as well to all of you. It's been a wonderful panel on a very important topic and activity in Norway, so I can't thank you enough. All of you for participating and Morten for putting it together and moderating. So thank you so much, and I wish you a great evening, and we look forward to the second day of our forum tomorrow. Thank you again very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.